Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm participating in a YouTube hop with Honeybee Stamps. We are celebrating the release of the gorgeous Hello Harvest collection. I'm going to be using products from that collection today to create a really pretty little A2 size card. Now I'm going to be using this beautiful Lovely Layers Boho Leaves die set that you can see here on the right. This is a really unique and interesting die set that coordinates doily pieces with leaves. It's really beautiful. I also wanted to use this stencil. The stencil is called the Lace and Loom stencil, which is really cool. I love the pattern on that stencil. Now I'm going to be using a variety of different Distress Oxide colors. What I did was I just put a little bit of that ink onto a stamping block just by pressing the ink cube onto the block. I'm going to add a little bit of water and then just spread that pigment out with a brush, and then I'll just take the ink, the stamping block, and add that onto a piece of watercolor paper, and I'm just really gently tapping off that pigment onto my watercolor paper in that way. I'll go ahead and take my Ranger heat tool here and dry that, and now I'm going to go in with another color. So I think I started off with some Rusty Hinge. This is Picked Raspberry, and I will make sure and list the colors of inks that I use in the description box below, but just kind of a combination of oranges and pinks, yellows and browns to create kind of like a fall sort of themed look with these leaves that I'm going to be die cutting. So we've got some oranges and some pinks. Now I'm going to go in with some brown here. This is Gathered Twigs, and just using the exact same technique each time, stamping out that ink or pouncing out that ink onto the block, adding a little bit of water, spreading the pigment around, then going ahead and tapping that pigment out. And you get this really neat combination of tiny dots, larger splotches of ink, and so on. Here I'm going to add a little bit of mustard seed with the Rusty Hinge, I think it is, or that actually might be Wild Honey, and just really adding some pigments in this same color family. Now you could just choose any colors that you love for this technique, and it's basically just the same as ink smooshing. You could do this with a block, or you could just, use your craft mat, put your pigment down and tap your paper into the craft mat. However you like to do this, just adding those Distress Oxide colors. This is a little bit of Kitsch Flamingo, so it's a lighter pink, and still trying to maintain tiny little bits of white space, although I'm going to be die cutting this, so it doesn't really matter a whole lot. Here you can see both of these leaves fit on that one sheet of white watercolor paper. And this is the Ranger watercolor paper that you can get in the A2 size packs. So there you can see just how nicely those die cut with that Boho Leaves die set. Now I'm just taking a little bit of the brown and a blending brush. I'm just going to go around the edges of the leaf just to define the edges in that way. And I'll do that with both of these leaves. And then I'll repeat all of what I've done here on another piece of watercolor paper for an extra leaf with that third leaf. And there's that third leaf there. You can see I've got a little bit more pink on that one. It's going to mostly get covered up by the doily. And I did cut these doily pieces out of Spellbinder's Alabaster cardstock, so it's kind of an off-white color. And now I'm just looking at this leaf and eyeing up how this is going to layer over top of the leaf. But isn't this cool? So you get these doily pieces that are going to lay over top of these leaves. They're not going to cover up the entire leaf. And it just adds that really cool little bit of texture. So I love how this works. I think it's very cool. And so I'm just taking my Honeybee liquid adhesive here to all of the doily pieces and adding them onto these leaves once the leaves have completely dried. So this is really cool. Just kind of trying to get into a few different areas so that the entire sort of at least perimeter of the leaf is going to be glued down. And I'll give that a really good press once I have that in place. Now the third leaf, the doily pieces are in two different sections. And so on this kind of longer and skinnier leaf here, we have these two little sections here of doily. So again, I'll just take my liquid adhesive and add that onto the back. I'll just kind of eyeball how this is adhered on, although there is a layering guide, of course, for all of our lovely layers. So you can just check out the layering guide and see how these layer together. So go ahead and get that adhered on. I like how the doily also kind of breaks up the color of the leaves. Now I took the different colors of Distress Oxide inks, and I splattered with them. So I splattered with some pink, and I splattered with some brown, splattered with some yellow and some orange, and now I'm going to splatter with some white paint. So I kind of wait in between the different colors, wait for those to dry, and I also use my heat tool to dry them. I also splattered with a little bit of gold watercolor. So it's a metallic gold watercolor. It's really shimmery and pretty. So we've got lots of layers of splatter on here just to add that little bit of texture and interest to these die cut pieces. So when we're all done, these are just really stunning and pretty and just gorgeous elements to add to a card front. I'm not going to add all 3 of these leaves to my A2 size card, but you could definitely do that, and you could also create a 5x7 card with these 3 leaves as well. Now I'm going to create a card front here with my decal edge trimmer. So this trimmer is just going to add a really nice decal kind of distressed edge to my card panel here. And so I'm just going to finish that here with my Tim Holtz trimmer. And now that I've got that ready, I'm just going to show you how that's going to fit onto my card base, which I'm later going to change to a cream colored card base. I am going to add a little bit of texture onto this card panel with that Lace and Loom stencil. So I'm just going to tape the stencil over top of my panel, and I'm just going to pounce a little bit of Oxide color onto that panel. This is Mustard Seed. I'm pouncing it because this stencil has got a lot of really intricate detail, and I find that pouncing is just going to give me a little bit more success with all of the intricate details here that I have. This is a little bit of, I think, Kitsch Flamingo here. Again, just using a pouncer to go in and pounce some color. And this is a paper pouncer, which works really well. So any kind of a stencil brush that you can pounce with is going to work really well there. So look at this gorgeous pattern that we have now and how pretty that's going to be behind our leaves. But I wanted to do a little bit more. First of all, I'm going to go in with my wild honey, and I'm going to add a darker color around the perimeter of this panel. And just by blending this on with my blending brush here, then I'm going to go in with some Rusty Hinge. I'm going to deepen up that color around the edge with that Rusty Hinge. And I think lastly, I'm going to go in with some brown. And so I'm just going to go in with the Gathered Twigs and just going to give that an even darker, kind of more dramatic look with my Gathered Twigs ink. So just blending that on. And when I've got that blended on, I'm just looking at it and I'm thinking, I really kind of want to add a little bit of water distressing to this. I'm going to spritz this with water. I'll go over it with my paper towel. I'll do that one more time, and that's just going to kind of make the colors blend together even a little bit more and distress that a bit more. Once that's dried, I'm going to take my Ranger crackle paste and a palette knife, and I'm just going to generously add a really nice thick layer of this crackle paste over top of my stenciling. And that is just going to give such a cool texture over top of our stenciling. And I just think this looks really, really gorgeous on a fall themed card. So I'm just going to show you here a little bit more up close how this looks. And I will be flattening this paper out here in a bit. I'll show you how I'm going to do that. But I really love that crackle paste. I think it just is so dramatic, but yet it's subtle. So I love it. I think it's very, very cool. Now I am taking some Walnut Stain Distress ink, not Oxide. This is a little bit more of a saturated color, or more of a bright color, I guess. And it's going to just add kind of a little bit more of a dramatic bit of a frame to my panel. That's going to dry back and be much more subtle when it's dry, but I also wanted to add that to my leaves. And I love how this really makes my leaves and my card panel pop. This walnut stain ink is just really the touch that I needed to make everything really pop on this project. So I'm going to go over each section here, or each little bit of the 2 leaves, and then the card panel, of course. And now I'm going to take my card panel and I'm going to add some foam tape to the back. And this is really, really going to flatten out that card panel. So whenever you have a panel, a piece of paper that's slightly warped from the different mediums that you use, you can always trust the foam adhesive to flatten that out really nicely. You could also put something heavy on this overnight to flatten it. That would also help. But I wasn't going to be doing that with this particular project, so the foam adhesive is the perfect addition. So I'm just going to give that a really, really good press. Again, you'll notice I'm using that alabaster cardstock for my card base. This is a top folding A2 size card base here. And there you can just see how I'm going to arrange the leaves. The top one is kind of slightly askew, as is the bottom one. And I'm going to add those onto my card with some foam squares. Friends, if I haven't mentioned it already, there will be instructions in the description box below the video as to how you can win a gift card to the Honeybee shop in this hop. Make sure that you check that out. Make sure that you comment, subscribe. Make sure that you check out all of the different creators who are on the Honeybee team that are participating in the hop today, and hop along the hop to each one of the videos to increase your chances of winning a gift card to the Honeybee shop. Now I'm just taking some twine, some string from my stash. I've got a piece of kind of like a hemp ribbon, and I have a piece of gold cord as well. So I'm just layering those 2 together, and I'll just tie this into a knot. I'm not going to tie a bow, just kind of a rough knot here, and then I will be ready to add my sentiment on here. So I'm just holding this together here really carefully, and I'm just going to tie that into a knot here. Now I really like how that jute ribbon looks here with this fall theme project. I think that looks really good. So I'm just going to trim my ribbon and my twine off here. I think I'll shorten that up. I think I'll just shorten the ribbon up a little bit and leave the gold cord a little bit longer. I think that's a really nice textural touch to this very textured card project. So once I've got that ribbon, that jute ribbon tied or trimmed, I am going to add some gems. Now the gems that I'm going to be adding are actually, I'm not going to add the gems yet. I'm going to add the sentiment next. The sentiment is from the Forever Grateful sentiment set. This is a fantastic sentiment set. I'm going to just count out with you here how many all of the different sentiments are that are part of that set. Really, really great. So it's a gratitude set. So great for thank you cards and that kind of thing. And I'm just going to show you how when you flip the stamp over and you lay it over top of the die set, you can see how the stamp sets coordinate with the dies. You can see exactly which die coordinates with which stamp. It's very easy to figure out. Honeybee does a great job of organizing that for you. I've die cut this 4 times. Once is the stamped image there, and the other 3 are just blanks. And I'm going to adhere these together to create almost like a chipboard thickness sentiment here for my card. So the sentiment that I chose is I'm forever grateful for you. And I love that. It's a really, really nice sentiment. You could give this as just a friendship card. You could give it as a birthday card. Lots of different occasions that you could send this off to a friend, or just an everyday thing that you just want to send it off to a friend or someone that you're grateful for in your life. And now I'm just going to take that and adhere that into this little area here that I feel like is just a really great resting spot for our eye for that sentiment. Now I am going to add some gems, and the gems that I'm going to be adding are the Homestead Hues gem stickers, and I am obsessed with those coffee colored, the brown gems that are on this sheet. I would love a whole sheet of just the brown ones. I love all the colors on the sheet, don't get me wrong, they're all gorgeous. But I really, really love these brown ones. And so I'm going to add 5 of those onto my project just to add a little bit of extra sparkle and shine. That's going to be it for my project today, friends. I hope you enjoyed. As I said before, make sure you check out the description box for the information about how to enter the gift card giveaway for the hop. Thanks so much for joining us today in this hop, and make sure that you check out the next hopper in the video hop today. Have an amazing day, friends, and I will see you again very soon. Take care. Stay well. Bye-bye.